Hi, Matt. I'm excited to talk about Q-Force. Let's talk broadly to start. Tell me how you got involved and what the process is like, because I know it's kind of been a long one.
Yeah, so I actually first heard about Q-Force like literally 2.5 years ago. It had to be. I was looking for a writing job, and I heard about this queer animated spy comedy. It was being described to me as a gay James Bond, and I knew that Gabe Liebman was on it, and I knew Sean Hayes was on it. And I said to my reps, I was like, chase that one down for me. I really want to be in the room for that. And then I got a meeting. It went well. I read the script and I was hired. And the character that was really jumping off the page to me was Twink.
Sure.
And because I just loved that he could become anything. I loved that he was like a drag queen by day, master of disguise by night. I thought that was really interesting. And I loved his jokes. I loved his pop culture references. I really kind of saw myself in him. And I thought, oh, that's a character that I'll pitch for, because in the writer's room, really my strength is jokes.
Yeah.
Um, so cut to us being in the room, and we were really like, the show was not cast. I mean,
Mhm.
we knew Sean was going to be in it, but we were casting as we were writing, and we really were having a little bit of a tough time finding Twink. And the first table read rolled around, and Gabe said, "Would you mind reading Twink at the table read?" Because a lot of the writers were jumping in just to fill roles that had not been cast. And so Sean came, and all of Netflix came, and Universal came, and all the producers. Mike Schur was there, and I just thought to myself, like, I really want to sell this script. I want to like make sure that the table read goes well, just thinking I'll be a good writer here and like try to nail the jokes,
Yeah.
not thinking really that it would lead anywhere, even though I knew we were having a tough time casting the role. And then after the table read, they came out of the meeting afterwards and they said, we're thinking of you to play Twink. And then I guess like 1 or 2 weeks later, I was formally offered the role. And it
Yeah.
was really cool because, I mean, Sean Hayes is like a hero of mine, and now I get to call him
Yeah.
a friend and say that I made him laugh that day, and
Yeah.
now we're on the show together. It's just the coolest.
It's crazy. I mean, I'll jump forward to a question about Sean Hayes because I want to ask him about you or ask you about him. I think
Mm,
most gay men sort of our age and of our era have a very specific relationship with Will and Grace, right? I mean, it was a
yeah.
hugely impactful show, obviously. And it's funny, like you talking about Sean, it made me remember this little moment. I went to like a taping of Will and Grace when I think I was probably like 11 or 12 years old and sort of like stayed after to like meet the cast or whatever and like shake their hands. And I'll never forget, like Sean Hayes sort of came up to me and sort of like winked at me as sort of this like kind of acknowledgement of like, you'll figure it out. Like, and like he could just
Mm,
tell that I was this like young gay kid who was so excited to be there without me having to say anything. And it seems like he's always kind of been that way, like always sort of trying to support a younger generation. And I think the show was really showing that. What is your relationship like with Will and Grace? What was it like? And now what is the working relationship with Sean been?
when I was younger, I think that Will and Grace it was the kind of comedy that made you not just laugh, but like really it like hit me. I mean, especially Jack and Karen. Like
Sure.
their relationship together was just so hilarious to me. And I thought that Jack, I just loved that he sort of similarly to why I like Twink, is he kind of just unfiltered, says the thing that comes to his mind. Like, he's very like proud to be himself, like with his friends. And he just doesn't really apologize for being who he is.
Yeah.
And I thought in Sean's performance as well, it was just very just bold and physical and always going for the joke. And I really looked up to him as someone who, I when I was doing sketch comedy early in my career, I was a very physical performer, and I think I was influenced by him more than I ever knew. And
Right.
that's because, there wasn't that much representation outside of him. I often say, like, when I was growing up, you were either a Will or a Jack, and the media landscape would have you feel like you had one of two options.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's funny because growing up, you always want to be like, well, I'm a Will, I'm the one you take seriously. You know what I mean? And like, as I've gotten older, I realize it's so much more complicated than that. Like, we all contain multitudes. But there was something so funny in the fact that he was so reliably Jack all the time.
Yeah.
And I've loved Sean since then. And so I have to say, like, getting to know him, he is so sweet. What you say about, him sort of giving you that nod of acknowledgement totally reads. I
Mhm.
mean, now whenever I have anything going on, like even outside of the show, he texts me, like he lets me know that he's supporting me, and he's just such a great guy.
Yeah.
And you hate to say this, but he really doesn't have to be. People like
Hey.
that, like
Oh
that
yeah.
are
And
so
a lot of them
established
aren't.
and so funny, and a
Yeah.
lot of them are not. I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked with heroes of mine before that have let me down. So it's like with him, that is so the opposite of the case, and he's so supportive. And I think it feels good. There was a day where he pointed to me and was like, "He's the Jack of the show," and I was just like, "Oh,
Wow.
maybe he sees something, maybe he
Sure.
recognizes something," and
Of
it
course.
feels good. It's very validating.
That's great. I mean, something that I love so much about the show and about the work that you do in particular is that we're really zeroing in on queer people making queer art for queer audiences.
Right?
And there's no
Yeah.
apologies, and it's unabashedly gay, and it's unabashedly fun. And we're living in this era where you can do that. How important is it for you to be surrounded by sort of queer artists making art sort of specifically for queer people?
I mean, I think when you are making a queer show for queer people, it's like of the utmost importance.
Yeah.
I Now that I've worked on projects, like I'm really lucking out right now because I not only is Q Force coming out, but right now I'm working on the Fire Island movie, which is a Pride and Prejudice adaptation
Yeah.
written by Joel Kim Booster, directed by Andrew Ahn, with Bowen Yang and an amazing cast, and it's all queer people. And
Yep.
Margaret Cho is there, and it's just like I can't imagine there being a straight person in this cast. I just can't. And like and it makes me sort of think about the shows and the films, and I'm not judging, and I believe that there's a reason why people make the decisions that they make, but I just think the vibe would be so different,
Yeah.
and there would be so much more to explain and elaborate on that you wouldn't have to had it just been an authentically queer cast. And I'm really sort of, both honored and also surprised now that I'm doing it, that this seems to be one of the only times that it's been like an all queer cast
Right.
um, in queer roles. Like I said, actors are supposed to act. I get why decisions get made. Everyone has their reasons, but I do think it affords us a comfort
Yeah.
and a built in, like, almost like familial sense by being around queer people, because like in the writers room for Q Force, it's like you don't have to explain
Yeah.
why a character is doing the Marissa Tomei monologue from My Cousin Vinny. And if you do, it's sort of like, okay, well, that's just a waste of time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Right.
we know this is like queer canon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's almost like there's such a freedom in not having to explain stuff. So much time gets wasted in explanation when it comes to this stuff, right? It must
And
just,
that's also with the content too. I mean, like, we're not
yeah.
Q Force is not explaining why Eurovision is cool. You know what I mean?
Well,
Q
right,
Force is not
exactly.
explaining why Palm Springs is a queer destination. Q Force is not explaining like little bits about West Hollywood. It's
Sure.
just like we have an episode called WeHo Confidential, which is LA Confidential, but like in West Hollywood specifically, and it's like very noir. And we're not like digging to map it on there. We're just mapping it on there. And
Yeah.
I think that like queer audiences are going to feel very seen by the show. And when I say queer audiences, I mean everybody. I mean,
Uh-huh.
like, the second episode of our show takes place at a lesbian barbecue where there's like, it's just like there's like 16 trauma pit bulls. There's bobbing for peppers and not apples. There
Yeah.
is, there's like a trivia contest where, like, a lot of the answers are just Carol. I mean, like, it's fun for everyone in the queer community, and people are going to feel really seen by it in ways that I think other queer shows and queer films have sort of been like, no, 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 we're queer, Your Honor. Like, I swear to God,
Uh-huh. Right.
it's like, eh.
You can tell that difference. I know exactly what you mean. But before I let you go, I do want to ask about two things. And one of those is I love this for you, which I am
Mm,
so excited for, Matt. I have to tell you, just like
I can't
the
even
words
say
Vanessa Bayer as a home shopping network host, it's like that's all you need to ever tell me. I need to ask, first of all, what the process of that has been like, but then also, more importantly, did you watch or have you watched any like home shopping network to prepare yourself for this?
Yeah, so I Love This For You is going to be amazing, and I'm really excited to talk more to you guys about it when it comes out next year, because the team involved is just crazy. I mean, it's Vanessa Bayer and Jeremy Byler created the show, and they were partners at SNL. Like, a lot of Vanessa's classic stuff was created by Vanessa and Jeremy. Jessie Klein is running the show, and she is just unbelievable. Molly Shannon is like the other lead of the show. We just announced that Jennifer Lewis is going to be on the show, and just an incredible supporting cast too. Poonam Patel, Aidan Mayeri, Paula James, and myself. And the best way I can describe it is it's like the Devil Wears Prada set at QVC.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I get to be the Emily Blunt,
Which
is really any gay man's dream.
This is it. It's been leading to this, Matt.
It's really, really the peak. I don't know how I go on after this, but we shot the pilot last year, and I can tell you that it is so funny, but also dark, and it walks a walk, and it is successful in doing that because Michael Showalter is directing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't say enough about Vanessa. She is going to show you a whole other side of Vanessa Bayer, and I'm just so excited to be a part of it. I can't even tell you.
I can't wait.
Even tell you.
I don't know what has happened to me, but over the course of the pandemic, I've become obsessed with QVC. Like, truly, I'm watching it.
Oh, you asked me, have I watched QVC?
Oh, please, it's okay.
Yeah, and it's
also,
crazy.
I apologize if you can hear my dog in the background. He's very excited that
Whatever, we love dogs.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, I'm like a Beverly Hills, a Housewives of Beverly Hills person. So whenever Lisa Rinna is like on her QVC shit, like, I'm there. Yeah. So like, I do love the energy of QVC. I think it's hilarious, and I think it, you know, it's a really fun world to explore that I'm honestly surprised hasn't been before.
Right, I know. It's just, I don't know what happened. I turned it on one night and I just can't stop watching. It's truly the most chaotic television in existence. It's the craziest. These women are now my friends. Like, I started watching kind of like, God, these poor women, like, it's so sad. And now I'm like, well, you know, tonight's Fashions Night In, so Cindy's on, so we'll see what it's like, I'm obsessed.
And that whole ecosystem is really explored in the show, because I think that, like, you know, the ability to be a host that connects with the audience is really important, and it's explored in the show in like a really integral way to the plot. So I can't say too much about like what goes down, but suffice it to say that it's a very hard knock world there at QVC, and people play a little dirty to succeed. Ooh. So while it's very funny, it's going to be very tightly serialized, and there's going to be a good deal of drama, and it's going to be fucking great.
I'm so excited. Okay, before I let you go, I can't talk to you and not at least talk briefly about Housewives. So we could talk about this. We could talk about it for hours, but I'm going to zero in on one thing in particular. What are your hopes and fears for the future of New York, and what is your dream cast for next season?
Okay, so my hopes for New York is that they figure it out with who's there, but I also don't think it can be just them. So what I want to do is I want to, and like me, as in like, this is my pitch to Andy Cohen, if you're out there listening.
Yeah, he's listening.
But I would like to bring back some old cast members, namely Dorinda. I would like to see Tinsley again, and maybe one other person. And also, the thing with Bethany is I do think Bethany should come back, but if the rumors are true about her wanting an executive producer credit, do not give that to her. Because here's the deal. Someone said this, and I really agree with it. Never treat anyone like a priority who treats you like an option.
Oh.
And like, if Bethany is going to be treating Housewives like an option, do not treat her like a priority. Like, would she be good for the show? Yes. Do you need her so bad as to give her a producer credit and give her that power over the other women? No, because that's going to kill the show. You need all these women on the same playing field. I don't necessarily think any of them should be fired. Maybe Ramona. I mean, that Black Shabbat dinner was just too hard to watch for me. I don't really know where we go from there. Mm-hmm. And that almost made me feel resentful of Ebony too, because I'm like, girl, at a certain point, you have to stop trying. I mean, and it frustrated me for her to say she believes in her still at this point. I'm like, what reason has she given you to believe in her? And I shouldn't feel that way after that episode, but I do. But I agree with everyone that it's not working. And I think we need more cast members. and not necessarily to get rid of what we have. Like
Yeah.
these casting rumors I'm hearing about getting rid of Sonia, I don't love. I don't think Luann should be demoted. I don't love what I'm hearing.
Have you heard about this rumor of them bringing in somebody already established who I was listening to Las Culturistas and you brought her up? Have you heard about this? Do you know who I'm talking about?
So who you're talking about?
Sherry Shepherd.
Oh, I hate that idea.
I hate it. I hate it.
No.
Yeah.
Sherry
Okay.
Shepherd is not a housewife, and
No.
it would just be it would I don't know, I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
I like Sherry Shepherd. I think she's cool. I don't see how she fits in with this group, and I don't see her as a housewife. I see her as like a comedian, someone who might commentate on Housewives and
Yeah.
like contribute to a discourse about it. But I don't see her as a housewife. I just vibes wise, that feels off to me.
I'm with you. I know. Well, listen, I have high hopes for our girls. I really do. But more importantly than that, Matt, I have high hopes for you. Okay. And you're already living up to them. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to watch. I'm excited for everybody to see it. And we're just living in this Matt Rogers renaissance. Easy for me to say, but here we are. So congratulations on everything. It's very exciting to see.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I love you guys over there.
Oh, that's nice.